About 5,500 years ago, our cosmic memory, core of creation, was erased by the reptilian species. Fortunately, memory, frequency, and energy are beginning to return now and cannot stop it. These reptilian beings believe that they have every right to be here. They feel that they have every right to enslave the rest of us because we cannot govern ourselves. Reptilian invasion. They have also forgotten that they are part of the consciousness of the universe. When the invasion occurred, it was an invasion of the fifth dimension, which means that from the fifth dimension, the reptilian energies created a particular wormhole and invaded, and when they did, they rummaged through our cellular alphabet. What this means is that our DNA was unplugged. The central energy source that was at the center of our planet was disconnected. So, our planet, of course, is a conscious, living, and breathing entity. The iron core of our planet has a black hole inside, breathes the source inside it. The fields of the various networks that were actually distorted from this invasion disconnected that particular source of energy from our planet. So, if we look at today's world, the third dimension, we can see that humanity has lost its humanity. We are living in an anti-human structure. How do we let this happen, and how do we allow it to continue? This is not a human agenda, it is a negative alien agenda. Really, it's not about creating an enemy, it's to understand that the reptilian consciousness needs to be rehabilitated. The reptilian consciousness needs to understand that its time of control on this planet is over. When the reptilians invaded us, they infiltrated Saqqara, Egypt. They created a trigger event. What that means is that they created later events that resulted in what we see today on our planet. These are choices we made as a species because of our own lack of understanding of what was happening at that time. And the Bible and several religious texts placed on this planet are a negative reptilian location. The reptilian beings basically became the supreme arrogance of their own worship and created structures for us based on the kind of salvationist thinking, based on redemption thinking that we are small and lonely worms that have to come out of sin, which is completely false. And this is a negative reptilian alien agenda. This has delayed human evolution around 5,000 years. The teachings that are part of human history and what belongs to the human race have been evaded, twisted, and distorted. It is not surprising that many of us die with a broken heart, because our truth cannot be expressed in this area, and the current agenda with this invasion is mind control. But when we really begin to transcend mental programs, they will not be able to control us because they do not know what consciousness is and they do not understand human. They only understand mental programming, which has been very successful and intelligent when implemented in our society, in our way of life, so that we can easily control ourselves, like the automatons that work every day, have our 2 babies, and obtain a mortgage. This is part of keeping us in the same cycle, and then many of us are persecuted for looking for a different path, knowing all the time that all we wanted was liberation. And mind control occurs on many levels through television, movies, media, our 3 lower chakras, and the electromagnetic mind control technology that we cannot even see with the naked eye, unless one is spiritually. Now all the mind control technology finally serves the period of the reptilian invasion agenda. This is an anti-human agenda based on domination and slavery. Mental control has been increasing since November 2009 because the reptilians feel that they are losing control. The reptilian consciousness has created an anti-human structure on this planet that benefits a privileged few, elite. Reptilians believe in the hierarchy. The origins of reptilians date back millions of years to a planet close to the Draco constellation. The reptilian agenda seeks the corruption of our planet and the minds and hearts of its inhabitants. By helping humanity in this ego-centered task, reptiles gain more power through the ingestion of our malignant, negative energy. And the current planetary ascension is literally the trip out of that negative space. In order to separate ourselves from mind control, we need to have the spiritual connection and trust and know that we are protected and supported in the divine essence. Our job is to make sure we connect, find ways to connect the spirit, which brings us to our core and brings us to peace. Consciousness cannot be mentally controlled, so our role is to incorporate the consciousness of unity into physical reality, and for that our genetic material is designed. Our plan information has been saved from our general knowledge, and this is something that belongs to the human race and needs to return. The secret history of the reptilians, their agenda uncovered. The possibility that non-human intelligences have visited our planet and even copulated with primitive human beings is found in many of the ancient cultural and religious records of our civilization. There are historical records that reveal, in addition, that these intelligences were reptiles in their nature, or at least have been represented throughout human history as reptilian beings. From the serpent Nahash in the Garden of Eden to Adam, the Egyptian serpent man, or Quetzalcoatl, the serpent god of the Mayans, to the double helix serpent of Enki, Ea. In ancient Sumerian literature, the serpent has been the omnipresent link between humans and the gods of all cultures. Archaeologists and explorers discovered in 1951 a library with more than 22,000 ancient tablets in what is now Iraq. These tablets contain what we know to be the earliest writings of the Earth and date back to about 6,000 years ago, when this region of the Earth was known as Mesopotamia, Sumerian, and Babylon. On the tablets, a story is told that is also reflected in the book of Genesis of the Bible. The tablets tell the story of a great flood that changed the face of the earth and its inhabitants, and tell the construction of a tower and the creation of the spoken word. What in the Bible is related as the Tower of Babel and the Great Flood? On the tablets and scrolls found there was included a star map of what appears to be our sun and its planets, since the parchment also includes detailed descriptions of our solar system that corresponds to what we know of it today. The funny thing is that this map includes a planet or spacecraft that orbits between Mars and Jupiter, which they call Nibiru. According to the texts found, Nibiru entered our solar system and collided with the planet Tiamat. The remains of Tiamat became Eridu, which is the Earth as we know it today, and the rest left over from the explosion became the asteroid belt. Nibiru took an orbit around our sun that took 3,600 years to pass between Mars and Jupiter. In recent years, and based on patterns of our solar system, some astronomers have been looking for a planet with this same orbit, which led to the discovery of the planet Pluto. The search for Nibiru continues. According to the found texts, this detailed information was given by the Annunaki, and they are described as a race of reptilian gods who came to Earth. It is written that they came to extract gold and other elements to use them to protect the atmosphere of their planet. This theory of reptilian gods of the heavens creating man is not at all unusual, and we can find traces of reptilian history in most regions of our planet. In Japan, the emperors claim to descend from dragon gods who came from heaven. Australian Aborigines teach about a reptilian race that lives under the earth and rules over men. They believe they are descended from a race of human dragons. In China, they believe that serpent queen Nuqua interbred with men. In India, these reptilian gods, the Nagas, are called and claim that they planted their royal families. In Eastern countries, there are traces of a serpent race that created man. In the book of Genesis, speaking about giants that came from the heavens to reproduce with the daughters of man, they were called the Nephilim. In Africa, they are called Chitauri, children of the serpent, and the kings of Africa claimed that they descended from serpent gods that came from heaven. The Mayans spoke that their ancestors were snake people, and the Aztecs said they were created by a female snake. The American Hopi Indians believed that the gods of heaven came down to reproduce with their wives and referred to them as their snake brothers. Reptilians live in long underground tunnels and can inhabit other dimensions. The reptilians have constituted the group of the Illuminati. Beings of human aspect, but under the orders of the reptilians, who follow very specific political agendas to perpetuate themselves in power and control the world through media manipulation, genetics, and the search for a government-centralized world. The Illuminati would have as mission the establishment of a new world order. Is there a possibility that we may be, or that we have always been enslaved by these leaders? The elites are not human. This is how these reptilians act with us. One of the most surprising theories in the panorama of conspiracies is that which has been defended by the British researcher and writer David Icke, who since 1990 devoted himself to searching for the reptiles that control the world. Apparently, David Icke's idea of a conspiracy of lizards may seem like idiocy, but the investigating experts who have come to study Icke's theses in many occasions to try to dismantle their eccentric visions have found with the surprise that the theories of this English writer are of absolute solvency and that they are perfectly structured and documented. In his writings, Icke warns that world control resides in a few magnates, powerful people from the economic, political, and world royalty spheres, who are descendants of a race of humanoid reptiles that have always controlled all of humanity. These dominant lizards are those who wield world power through the occult society of elite Illuminati. That the control of the economic and political power of the world is structured from occult secret societies, followers of the devil, is something that was already known. The great novelty introduced by David Icke is the element lizard, that is to say that these controllers of world power are reptilian beings and that they transform their form. David says that most of the world leaders of any social structure, like George Bush, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and even the royal family of England, are 7-foot-tall, humanoid reptiles that feed primarily on blood. Snake beings, also called, can transform their physical appearance from human to reptile, depending on whether they are in private or in public at that moment. According to an interview with David Icke, Christine Fitzgerald, a confidant of Princess Diana, tells that Diana told her that the royal family were reptilian aliens and that they could change shape. David Icke states that September 11th is a conspiracy by the reptilians to enslave through fear of humanity, George Bush being a servant of the lizards. David Icke's theories may be difficult for some to understand, but what is undeniable is the fact that when you listen to his propositions, he makes a very good discussion with his case. This is a time of great changes in the world. People have started to wake up, deciding for themselves what resonates as truth and what does not. We live in an era of massive information exchange, thanks to the advent of the internet. People are connecting from around the world to share knowledge and create changes on a large scale. The most important thing that each of us must do during this time is to inform ourselves as much as possible. In short, we are the ones who have the power to create what we want as a society. When we tune into our true potential, everything is possible. Conclusion: the awakening of humanity and the end of reptilian control. The story of humanity is far more complex and enigmatic than conventional history has led us to believe. For over 5 millennia, our species has been subjected to a grand cosmic manipulation, an insidious invasion by a reptilian consciousness that sought to dominate, enslave, and suppress the true potential of human beings. This was not merely a physical conquest, but a metaphysical one, an assault on the very fabric of our DNA, our collective memory, and our spiritual connection to the universe. The reptilian agenda, executed through subterfuge, psychological warfare, and the distortion of sacred knowledge, has kept humanity trapped in cycles of fear, division, and unconscious servitude. By infiltrating ancient power structures, such as those in Saqqara, Egypt, and embedding themselves within religious, political, and economic systems, these beings ensured that humanity would remain spiritually disempowered. The Bible and other religious texts, rather than being pure sources of divine wisdom, were weaponized to instill doctrines of guilt, unworthiness, and blind obedience, tools of control designed to keep humanity subjugated. Yet, despite millennia of suppression, the tide is turning. The return of cosmic memory, the reactivation of our dormant DNA, and the resurgence of higher frequency energies signal an irreversible shift. The reptilian control system, built upon deception and fear, is crumbling. Their reliance on mind control through media, technology, and electromagnetic manipulation is failing as more individuals awaken to the truth. Consciousness cannot be contained, and as humanity begins to remember its divine heritage, the illusions of the old world dissolve. The reptilian paradox: rehabilitation, not retribution. It is crucial to understand that the reptilian consciousness is not merely an external enemy to be vanquished, but a distorted aspect of universal consciousness that has lost its way. These beings, originating from the Draco constellation, have operated under the illusion of superiority, believing hierarchy and domination to be the natural order. In their arrogance, they have forgotten their own connection to the source, just as they sought to sever ours. The solution is not hatred or war, but rehabilitation, an elevation of consciousness that realigns all beings with universal truth. The reptilian agenda thrives on division, but unity consciousness, the remembrance that all life is interconnected, dissolves their control. As we awaken, we must hold compassion even for those who sought to enslave us, recognizing that their time of dominion is ending not through destruction, but through the inevitable expansion of cosmic awareness. The Great Awakening, reclaiming our sovereignty. Humanity stands at the precipice of a new era. The signs are everywhere: the collapse of corrupt institutions, the exposure of elite manipulation, and the global awakening to spiritual truths long suppressed. The reptilian fear-based paradigm, built on war, scarcity, and artificial hierarchies, is being replaced by a new frequency of unity, love, and co-creation. To fully break free, we must reclaim our spiritual power. Meditation, inner work, and direct connection to Source bypass all forms of mind control. Expose the deception. Question narratives fed by mainstream media, academia, and religious dogma. Seek hidden histories and suppressed knowledge. Activate our DNA. Through sound, light, and conscious intention, we can restore our genetic blueprint to its original, multidimensional state. Build sovereign communities. The old system thrives on isolation. By uniting in truth, we create a new reality outside their control. Transcend fear. The reptilian matrix feeds on low vibrational emotions. Love, courage, and discernment are our greatest weapons. The final liberation, a cosmic rebirth. The reptilian invasion was not just an attack on Earth, but a disruption of the universal order. Now, as cosmic energies realign and the planet ascends, humanity is being called to step into its true role as co-creators of reality. The elite's desperate attempts to tighten control through wars, pandemics, and surveillance are the death throes of a dying paradigm. The secret history of the reptilians, once buried beneath layers of myth and manipulation, is now being unveiled. From the Annunaki of Sumer to the modern Illuminati bloodlines, their influence is being exposed. The question is no longer whether they exist, but how we choose to respond. We are the ones we have been waiting for. The return of our cosmic memory is not just a personal revelation, it is a planetary revolution. The age of reptilian dominion is ending. The age of human sovereignty, in harmony with the universe, is dawning. The choice is ours, the time is now. Awaken, remember, rise. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. I love hearing from you. Check out more videos on the screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.